and she carried him all the way to the hospital to the final moment in which she loved him. She loved him all the way through the years after his body extinguished and light entered him as it enters a cathedral, where she loved him. And she loved me in the mornings with pancakes and cold coffee without speaking, pressing her lips to my face, like my father in the silence in which she loved me. And I learned then I was too young for love, laughing at her strange kiss, proving myself somehow worthier than the language of her touch, though I wasn't, though it's how I think I learned to love, taking her hand, scratching her back, learning word by wordless word. Sometime in this past year, went to Los Angeles. So this poem was written there, and it's for my partner, Albert. It's called Griffith Observatory. Love and its consequences, wildness as when I had no shame or too little to sate my own appetite, my annihilating mind. Watching them, I do not know, two hawks rising and crashing into each other, nearly dying like twin shadows or reflections repeating in the river's assault, or you and I so many years ago. One digs his talons in the face of the other, and I am like the shamed one flying off, disintegrating into smoke. But the meaning, love, it's the meaning I don't want to know any longer. It's the not knowing, I think, that brought us here. High wind, no rain. I used to do a lot of sports as a kid, and one of them was baseball, and another one was karate. And there was this person in the class who was my best friend, and they were obviously gay, and we kind of gravitated towards each other. And at a certain point, we couldn't speak to each other anymore. And so this was, I think about him all the time, every day. So this is a new poem for my friend Juan. It's called A Letter to Juan. Juanito, hermanito, how can I tell you, I think of you every day. As kids caught in the same extracurriculars, we were something of a pair, weren't we? Both forced to play baseball and somehow better pitchers than those who spat and scratched their balls, while we cackled in the outfield. Speaking of melody, the child pop star whose name now reminds me of your voice, soft and trembling, violet and high, the first recognition, my secret, my star, my brazen harbor master, whose hips divided the rising tide, whose wrists limped frightening future men. Why do I fear for your life? I know, after all these years, it was me living a living kind of death. I can only dream you forward. Thank you for the blueprint I was forced to see, as when my father told me to stop speaking to you, and I cried as if you died, though I choose to believe, alive and in love, you're someplace better. I have two more poems, and this one's for my mom, and it's called My Mother's Hair. Stroking my hair, calling it nearly blue, my mother returns to 1977, drives long back roads in a blue economy car as my father, in construction, black hair wet in a helmet, cautionary blue, sweats, willed against, pulled, I keep my mother's image in my locks of pluvial earth. For years, crew cut, kept from its coiled shape the way sunsets are kept from the freshwater lake as the infinite duckweed took over it. As I was kept from the vision of the city fading through an airplane window in the final afternoon in which I left my country 2 years before the death of the dictator, like the 2 years before the night of the war in the photograph of my grandfather, in which he leans out of the opening shutters of his now destroyed childhood home. Sideswept hair, sable-like, so dark, some say it was the blue of an ocean at midnight, the summer, my mother, umbilical cord wrapped around her neck, was born a blue turning rosy, as she, Elena, cries for the first time, Fontanelle, Oxygen Blue. And this last one's, and weirdly, another baseball mention, but it's for my baseball teacher as a kid, and his name is Señor Bello, which translates to Mr. Beautiful. And this is an ode to Señor Bello. And thanks so much for listening. For times he needed to show us how a player would appropriately slide into home base, or position their feet to pitch, or pitch their elbows up for a better swing. Our teacher, Señor Bello, collected clippings of baseball players into scrapbooks. And though then I hated baseball, playing it, driven over, fitting into dugouts, cleats screeching, boys spitting, I admired the love my teacher had for baseball the way I do for poetry. Just as I see poetry in everything around us, I think he saw baseball waiting in corners to instruct him. Students gathered around his cane and lawn chair, hands rough like sandpaper, turning paper in a book privately assembled, probably stored in a room meant as a shrine to that dream which came to be not through playing it, but through showing others how to play it. That money was unnecessary as corn kernels flew through the air, and we batted each one as the first lesson in writing a poem revealed itself, to swing right as the image revealed itself, to use as guide the sound of a seed ringing like rain against a zinc roof. How we practiced our pitch by throwing balls through a hole torn into old bed sheets hung on 3 metal rods soldered at the ends. Or how on Fridays, Señor Bello would toss tennis balls and we'd swing as hard as possible so they flew off unseen and patient. We'd listen to car alarms sounding off, some disgruntled driver shocked out of sleep, and my softness gone for a moment as we all watched the green ball disappear into the sky. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Francisco. Up next is Ty Freedom Ford.
Oh man, I'm wild nervous. I haven't read in, I feel like a long time. I don't know. I feel like I'm still just like getting used to this shit. So bear with me. But I'm just super happy that my friend Julia asked me to be a part of this, and so proud that I get to have my name on your shit, like, and be connected with you in that way. Because it's such a beautiful book. So yeah, so I'll just read, I think 3 pieces. Starting with I don't read from this book anymore. And you know that when you do, I don't know if you like that, when like the old is old, it's like real old now, it just feels really weird. And I used to always be jealous of the poets who would get up here with like multiple books and they'd be flexing, you know, like, you know, like, so that's kind of what I'm doing now. It's a small flex. All right. Hands. I have been preoccupied with my hands and patches. The dead, yellowed skin on my palms sheds itself. My hands are not a fan of bleach or dog shit, but it takes one to clean the other. At first, the hands scaled and itched. I scratched so much in my sleep, my partner, back turned, believed I was masturbating. A filthy floor requires bleach. Even a tomboy knows this by the time she is 7. These hands have always been wrinkled beyond their age. After years of cracking, the knuckles on the right require a bigger ring size than the left. My hands are small, too small for my height. I call them my worker monkey hands, small and good for fixing shit, for rescuing earrings wedged between car seats. I do not find the peeling of my hands symbolic, a bit problematic and certainly symptomatic, but not symbolic. It just is. I joke with my girl that she has put an ugly hand hex on me to keep me from mojoing any cuties. Lesbian hands are important, At once practical and sexual, they hang blinds and orchestrate orgasms, clean up dog shit, penetrate asses. They should not be crusty, dry, yellowed, peeling like mine. A curse, perhaps? No, this is not symbolic. I am at once exasperated and fascinated by the affliction. I call attention to myself to keep people from wondering. Look at my hands, I say, turning my palms toward them. Allergic reaction, you know, bleach and shit. The poets offer remedy, cocoa butter, shea butter, coconut oil, olive oil, vitamin E oil, Vaseline. I buy a soap of olive oil and aloe. The green chunky square makes my hands stink. I have become obsessed with the picking, tearing at the skin with my teeth and spitting, prodding the puckered white spots until the skin unfolds itself. This obsession is not symbolic. Neither are the reddened blotches of tinder that are revealed. My fingerprints are vulnerable swirls of new pink. I rub my hands against my forearms. They sing a song of sandpaper. I am conscious of handshaking, opting to bump fists instead. This is the second shedding. The first occurred one summer after 9th grade when I spent every day playing basketball. The rubbery tread of the ball ripped my hands raw. My hands amuse me. I look at them and can't help but laugh. On my right thumb, a swatch of skin has puckered in the shape of a heart. I think of my lady and smile. This is not symbolic. All right, so this piece is after an artist called Jacoby Satterwhite. And he's like a really cool queer, I don't know, performance artist, I guess. And he just, and also just a really talented like visual artist that works in a lot of really cool media. And the funny thing is that I knew his brothers growing up in Atlanta, and he was just like this young little kid. And then like I saw him, you know, like at an art show, like I saw his work and I was like, Jacoby Satterwhite, like I know this kid. But anyway, he was speaking in an Art 21 video, and he said, the body that I'm performing in doesn't understand limits. So that's the name of his poem. After Jacoby Satterwhite. Barbecue teeth, meaning charred so black it's white. Barbie thiefs the subconscious skin, knee, skim milk and silk do-rags, drags queen the river neon pink and luscious, fag hags, straight as cigarettes but curvy as birds named precious, praise what the geometry suggests. Hands masturbating circumference, what choice but succumb? Become friends, eat each other down to the white meat, what choice but suck? Come, become dominion of sequins. What is femininity if not pageantry? A pantry of days of the week panties. Which way is Tuesday? And which is the rudest way to say unicorn porn besides this poem? You could laugh. Unicorn porn. This is how my mind works. Although I think that would be really cool. Last poem is from the manuscript I'm currently working on, which is about home and domesticity and gentrification and shit. House hunting as a disappearing toll booth. I legit consider sex working as a way to afford a house in New York State. I Google OnlyFans accounts, wonder how much of this literate ass pussy is enough for a down payment. They want 20%. My bank account dizzy from all the eye rolling and rent paying. Seriously, how much can I get for a curated glimpse? Lyric essay as porn, baby, I just want to read to you. something sexy like pedagogy of the oppressed. Me in boxers and black socks, all my poverty exposed like these wayward titties. I Google grants for first-time home buyers. I Google the red lines y'all drew around nigger neighborhoods. I Google urban renewal. I Google blockbusting. I Google New York's Seneca Village. I Google Miami's Overtown. I Google Detroit's Black Bottom. I Google LA's Chavez Ravine. I Google Portland's Albina. I Google the Fair Housing Act of 1968. I Google the Homeowners Loan Corporation. I Google reparations. Our sheer resilience is exhausting. Our legendary stick-wittedness, our turn the other cheekiness, our if you can't beat them, marry 'em-ism, our cross to bear martyrdom, our when they go low, we go high respectability has worn me the fuck out. And still I rise, work, save, claw at the dream, the lyrics to we shall overcome, gnawing at whatever parts of me are solid and sane. Sun or snow or rain, I spend Saturdays driving 2 hours north, only to realize I've been catfished by Photoshop houses whose ghosts peek through curtains to glimpse me all cityfied and gullible and ignorant to shit like well water and radon tests and Bilko doors. Long dead grannies laugh at me under the buckled floorboards. And today I saw a most magical house that I could actually afford, except there was a Confederate flag draped across the basement door, and the realtor even included it in the flicks as if to say, fuck you nigs. And I still easy passed my black ass up there anyway, as if to say, fuck you crackers. As if to ask, don't I deserve to live in a house where a white racist artist died? Like, ain't that some kind of poetic justice? Like, shouldn't they just sign me over the deeds? In that house, so much art. Thousands of canvases collapsed on one another, abandoned, unsold, and there were sculptures of baby doll heads painted red and crosses everywhere, and yet nothing felt holy. In a shed on a hill where we had to force the door open against the snow, there were rusted horseshoes nailed to the walls and a collection of disco balls winking at us. And all I could think about was the weird ass art he never even bothered to sell. What swell privilege to not have to live at the edge of hunger and hustle, how every muscle makes only what it can lift, our gifts reduced to some sad and swift dinner. If you ask me, and I know you ain't, these people and all they philanthropic foundations and all they grant monies should reconsider the basic needs of an artist. Instead of nickel and diming us over line items on a budget, what if they was like, fuck it, go on and spend that grant money on a house. Imagine the gathering. Folks blathering about art over deviled eggs and fried chicken, the backyard gardens where nature poems might take root, the fucking of future exes who'd become characters in our novels, the novelty of driveways, how impressive an acre of land is when it's yours, how I might count and carve my name into every damn tree on the property, how loud I could play my music and bruise the walls with any color I choose, what good news might spill from me, what shape-shifting form might the muse take, what picturesque elixir this ownership might make. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Wow, thank you for gathering us, Julia. The energy in this room and to be here to celebrate your book. It's such an honor, and to also just our literary friendship that's, I feel like, just unfurling excited for it. So thanks. I'm gonna read some new work and with some themes of embodiment, sensation, pleasure, kink. And this first one is called Bottoms. And there's a piece by Yoko Ono where she took a lot of footage of people's asses for like a long time, and they're like different. And it's like one of those moments when the familiar becomes defamiliarized when you see it up close. So that was that prompted this poem. Bottoms. Yoko Ono respected asses up close, a complete backdrop flooding the camera. The ass as a form with 4 sections, seemingly simple to draw, as when a child is asked to fold construction paper into 4 squares and asymmetry ensues. When in motion, we notice how they tip up and down. Yours are like 2 globes. Your words, not mine. And it's a perfect description that you see your own ass so fully, I must confess, is hot. As it's no small thing to value the back of oneself. Self-knowledge is 360 degrees. And you know too how you want each cheek to be touched. I'm a pain slut, you say, unashamed. As with any rhythm, surprise won't come if we haven't first established a pattern. Repeat after me. I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. Darling, if you say I want impact, I deliver a steady pentameter. All right. Just thought we'd start on that note. This one's also kind of about sensation, but it's a different vibe. The photographer Bernice Abbott, I'm kind of an archive nerd, and archives definitely turned me on. And so I was reading, reading her journals and learning about her friendship with Muriel Rukeyser. And she made this really cool, she was always like making stuff, and she made this really cool camera in her studio that could zoom in on stuff. And the first thing that she zoomed in and took a photograph of was Muriel Rukeyser's eye, like a really big eye. So like a really big eye of someone who might have been her lover, we don't know, but who definitely was like a collaborator and a friend. This is called Super Sight for Bernice Abbott. Like you, I'm after special effects, attempting high definition, veined leaf, fishtail, apple core. Icarus energy, a friend calls it. How close can we go? In my favorite photo of yours, taken with a DIY camera you rigged across your 2-room studio, Muriel's left eye looks up, as if declaring subvocally, nuns, war, orgy, sky. The fine hairs of her eyebrows are grassroots, are a starling's wing radiating. In the New York Public Library, I held your journal of lists and experiments in my hands. Then hours later, some citrus. I was so busy peeling citrus, so busy rigging my hands with a task, I nearly missed the way a stranger caught my eye. Walnut, magnet, sun throwing shadows from clouds onto earth. Okay, y'all are getting the new stuff. This is called Rockaway Beach. She posted an ad in search of someone to fuck her with a strap as the sun set. And gulls tussled in the shallows for mussels. Instead of doing so, we walked out along a seawall, still in formation. She was into hypno-kink. I confessed sensation. Or edging. And surfing, she'd surfed so much in icy waves at daybreak that she'd stopped enjoying showers. They were too warm. She touched her shoulder then as if it had been freezer burnt, and birding message boards, had I ever read them? The rapture teeming through the briefest reports, golden crowned kinglet, orange crown visible, palm warbler flew in off the water and practically landed in our laps and flew off quickly. A form of pain neither one of us desired was to be the last to smell something. Say the wave-worn cochlea of a shell, and imagine no one else getting to. At our backs, mounds of sand and 2 large bulldozers ready to place a line of boulders into holes dug from the sea. A police officer who'd sprained his ankle said, "Don't go any further. It's slick." We ignored him. A few other pedestrians dotted the rocks too, and buffleheads clustered in the evening waves. The sky at the end of the jetty was pink. I felt the stones through my boot soles. Oh, some more sexy ones? Is that cool? Okay, I'll just go out that way. Okay, this one's called Golden. These 2 short ones, and then one is a little bit longer. Golden, it's called honeydew when aphids release their crystal shimmer, iridesce the tops of leaves, head down, waiting for it. I picture my skin glistening like this as your piss pulls at the back of my lower back, then runs down my ribs. Tether, the blood from your cycle sticking to the ring of the strap is rose gold and smells metallic. Surrender being its own imperative. You say, "You'll be turned on if I am." So I pull your nipple up between my thumb and forefinger. This is my last one. It's called submission. I can't remember ever not wanting this. Clenching a painter's cap out a car window. The one I chose as a kid to wear backwards. Sun-stunned in the back seat, so many numbing miles to go. The cap flapping, my fist tightening as it whipped and whirled and pirouetted in the wind. Above the brim in letters airbrushed were the words, "Let's get physical." Physical. A world whizzed by. A voice inside dared me to do it. Where it went when I let go, I didn't see, though I felt a fluttering as the hat was sucked up and back in the pummeling air, fast into the open mouth of a tunnel invisible beneath the bay. In this room where we're playing, my arms have been up for a while. I'm losing count of the smacks the falls make, how much pressure you've delivered to each of my shoulders. When you tear the top off a marigold, there are so many fine, loose strings. When I lose my grip this time, I meet the slap of your voice. Did I ask you to let go?
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Ty. Thank you, Francisco. Really beautiful. Up next is Mark Bibbins.
Oh, look at you. Lovely. Julia, thank you. And congratulations and all that shit. So I thought I should find some celebratory poems to read in honor of Julia, and I don't really do that. So, so you're getting some of this elegy instead. Yeah, it's for someone who died of AIDS in 1992. Untitled sections, and I'm just going to read a handful of those. A person I knew for a short time after you died, guessed incorrectly that I would sleep with him, and furthermore, that I slept with a copy of Bartlett's familiar quotations next to my bed. Though wrong on both counts, he was right when he said I blushed absurdly and too easily. But when I told him about you, he was taken a little aback, perhaps surprised that I had lived through anything. I should remember now what Velvet Underground song, after I turned him down for the last time, he left on my answering machine in order to convey that I was no longer worthy even of his disdain. I never told him the book that was next to my bed was the copy of the selected poems of Frank O'Hara you had given me before you died. Yesterday, someone told me that Frank's friend, the painter Mike Goldberg, had died. And from here, I can see myself in my tenement room on a night more than 3 decades gone, opening to Frank's birthday ode to Mike when I reached down to the floor next to my bed to pick up the book that had been yours. My Xanax is not working. Let's try breathing. I'm gonna do that for a second. Okay. All right. Since you died, the house style could best be described as leaves that cling to trees too long into winter. I understand how to miss a hint as I regularly watch the anger harbored against queer people inflate like innumerable soap bubbles in what passes for real time. A truce can soothe for as long as it lasts and to the extent to which it's meant. I set foot in a jungle once, so I know how things on Earth can work. There were fewer animals than I expected, but I did see some leafcutter ants, and I climbed an ancient pyramid and may have heard a monkey before returning to the lot where the bus had dropped me off. Near the gas station, some children were taunting a dog with awful mange. On the way back to the beach town where I was staying, a unit of young soldiers stopped the bus to search for whatever a soldier searches for. I remember their rifles and their boots and their silky eyelashes, and that they looked like children to me then. To whom must they look like children now? When I was a teenager, I smugly told one of my teachers I wasn't worried about going to hell because all my friends would be there too. And she just as smugly responded, yes, but you won't recognize them. Now when I ride the escalator to hell, I have to kiss everyone on it, even the drug lobbyists, but we're all fine now, very wealthy down here. Drop a kiss on the floor of hell, the 3-second rule applies. I may not care who I'm kissing anymore, but neither do they. Hell is full of delicious flowers, and we keep scooping out deeper hells for their decapitated stems. How could I have been so stupid to have said that this is the way Salon ends, Salon ends, Salon ends, not with a bang, but a river. Wolf too. I mean, wind any creature tight enough, pull any creature loose enough, it does what it has to do. Still, the flowers, I can hear them, are singing, don't leave, you haven't finished eating us yet. You and I never called each other by the name we shared. It would have been like eating an echo, each of us checking opposite sides of a two-way mirror for fog left by his own breath. Months after you died, I saw someone in a nightclub in a different city than the ones in which our story crossed itself out. Someone who knew us both, but as it turned out, not very well. He looked shocked to see me, a look I didn't need him to explain, but holy shit, he said, I thought you were dead. We celebrated my not death with shots of something too sweet, and an hour later I was vomiting into a mop bucket in the corner of a club. It's a long time ago. The coelacanth was believed to be extinct for millions of years until the sea coughed one up off the coast of South Africa after a great storm. Its name comes from the Greek, koilos, meaning hollow. I've been terrified of clouds since learning how much they weigh. A dam collapses, but there's no flood. The water already gone, presumably into a cloud. C.D. Wright said that elegy is a site of not loss, but opposition. Nevertheless, if anyone asks me about death, I try to be optimistic. I say yes, there is death. For me, elegy is a Ouija planchette, something I pretend not to touch as I push it around, trying to make it say what I want it to say. And one more little piece. When David Markson died, all of his books with his annotations in the margins were boxed up and sent to his favorite bookstore, where the staff released them into the wilds of the shelves. Don Quixote, Don DeLillo, Heidegger, and Wretched Old Pound. Word went out in the ways in which it does now, and a kind of scavenger hunt began. Markson's books drifting off like leaves on 100 breezes to land in 100 strangers' libraries, his marginalia becoming an untethered archive, an elegy both fracturing and perpetuating itself. Borges could have written the story of this story, in which a writer dies and his books are bought by strangers and taken away. Then decades later, after the last stranger dies, word again goes out in the ways in which it will, and all the books come back together. All the books come back.
Thank you, Mark. Julia did not want an introduction or a bio, so I thought we could do something for her. Her book is so much about, of course, the body and its endurance, but also its healing, and the miracle and the terror of that. So however you get embodied, do it right now. You can stand, you can touch, you can reach. And in lieu of an introduction, just send one thought to Julia right now. Please welcome Julia Guez.
Something here. Then from Bibbins to Guez. Don't want to hurt anybody. That was gorgeous. Thank you. As soon as you asked us to send a thought to me, I thought, but I want to send a thought to you. Thomas probably wants me to receive this for a second, which I do. Thank you. There's so many people to thank. Mark mentioned halfway through his reading that the Xanax wasn't working. When I first ran into Louis, he said, "Can I get you anything?" And I said, "Do you have a Klonopin?" So I want to begin by thanking you. He didn't give me a Klonopin. You're about to find out. I want to thank Greg and Donnie, who are not physically here, but just permeate the place. I'm so grateful, like Francisco said, this is one of the most special places in all of New York to read, to be on the shelves. There are libraries and bookstores and schools all around the country that don't want you to read these particular books, and I like having them all in one place. And I'm so honored that books belonging to Ty and to Mark and to Jenny are here alongside mine, and that you all are here as well. I'm going to begin at the beginning. Meditation at Calicoon. More and more night pretends it isn't spring. What to make of the daffodils then? Hyacinth here and there, wind and rain. So many birds. Of course, they won't stay long. None of this will. Not the night, the cold, the city full of swallows. Not the bridges and rivers, not the sea. No God born of the sea foam. Not even mothers and sons, this would be unbearable without. There's a poem in this first section called "As We Consider Another Child." you see my gorgeous wife here, you'll know where we landed with that set of considerations. As a lesbian, I think people look at me like, you're gonna have a book and a baby out in the same month? Like, you couldn't have planned that a little bit better? And godlike as we are, there's some things out of our control. If it's all good, we're gonna receive it. This book was written when I was recovering from a very bad brush with COVID in the spring of 2020. And my goodness, my body was so wrecked. My heart and my lungs were so wrecked. The rest of me was wrecked too. But my mind got really sharp in about the 5th week. I think because it just was ready for some poems, both the reading and the taking of them in, and the writing of a few. And this is one of the first. It's actually dedicated to Camilla Aisha Moon. And if you don't know that name, that poet, you could. She too is a sibling of Four-Way Books, sibling of the same press, and very much missed. If indeed I am ill, tell me all about London. The weather there in spring outside the walls of the great hall. These things matter less to me than the sound of your summary. Shadows cast on the watery surfaces of my mind by invisible fingers whose energy is everything, as you know. These sonatas, these scores, tell me what of them will last when everything falls away. I've never heard New Yorkers so quiet. This next poem is from the middle section, and it takes its title from Susan Sontag's book, Illness as Metaphor. And it's a more onerous citizenship. I'm not going to read the whole thing, partly because the 5th section will make my wife cry, and also because I think it's better read than heard. But we are going to get to a fever dream. There are 5 parts of this, and it organizes itself around Ash Wednesday, Maundy Thursday, which is the sexiest church service you'll ever attend, and I'll explain in a second, Good Friday, the Vigil, and Easter Sunday. I think that's all you need to enter it for right now. Let's see. Wednesday. I should say, the last church service I had ever been to was in Ash Wednesday at Trinity Wall Street. There were thousands of people together. This is end of February of 2020 that probably should not have been all together there. We'd never even seen a mask. Nobody owned one. The thing had been moving around for weeks. I didn't get sick there, but I'm sure lots of people did, just given the timing of all that happened in the city then. Wednesday. So many Cassandras sing each to each. What we gathering cannot yet sense may as well be Greek. For the record, I do not know Greek. Let there be a record. Let the record show my Greeklessness would matter greatly at several points, 1 or 2 in particular. May have been windwarding, the song, I mean, all those xylophones. Windwarding now to know the music was both knowable and known then, when I was standing next to you in the last pew, with our coats still on because it was cold, and we would still have been hurrying to certain offices after. I will think of you often, performing these frail rites to bend the centrifugal back some. I am afraid this will be one convalescence after another. Lilacs on every sill, profusely sad, knowing they too spread and spread, not unlike the bells, ever widening rings of all kinds, and the terrible swing of the censer. Sirens on the other side of this psalm, whose linens are loud with cries and are become our Italies. Thursday. So this is the Maundy Thursday piece. And it came, parts of the poem came when a big fever broke and I had the sexiest dream I'd had in a very long time, which I found very encouraging. And I knew at that point in my midlife and in my experience of COVID to write some things down. So you're going to get part of that. I was made American. You must consider this wanting badly to be washed clean in that light. Consider also the fever dream. In my case, fractals, which may or may not belong to otters who appear to be holding hands. I see the pair. So much dun colored fur folding in on itself, I see the dark river. Fortunately, there is also a shower scene. I thank God for this part of the dream. The smell of that soap and all the seminarians there with me and my wife. In the dim light of this painterly onsen, glistening bodies. One is pale, but not at all sickly. Pearlescent then, yes, and listen, lie. Breasts not unlike a murmuration of birds. What they fever after, we fever after. In tight swaths circling, the warmest water, laving feet, fascia, calves, the small of so many backs, homily of so many hands, lathering once bleeding eidolons, every single scar. A story whose ending is clearly not one, for here we are, gently washing, washed. Friday. You're gonna hear Dylan Thomas, you're gonna hear Claudia Rankin here, you're gonna wonder, what a strange mix, but it's all gonna come together, I promise. Everybody okay? Okay. If at any point it's too much, you put your hand up, and we're gonna get back to that shower scene. I will go right back to the fascia, the calves. How to mourn. How many the stations of the breath have taken. After the first death, there is no other, but the requiem is endless. Endless the sequelae whose ever widening rings widen around the names of the dead, swallowing those who survive them. Exactly why we survive and can look back with furrowed brow is beyond me. It is not something to know. On this day, ministers enter in silence, no one there. The force of that, and also the very fact that they go on with this ritual calling for some relief from beyond, the desolating sound of songbirds going on in the cemetery the same way they do here. Saturday. Between that disgust and this one, a vigil. The dark has never been final. I'm going to abruptly change from elegy to ode. And this is one I wrote with my niece in mind. And I feel like I exhausted her. She kept sending me like postcards and letters. And I kept wanting to report back good news, but I thought she will be a faithful letter sender, and I will write something for her in return. The leech and the lacrimal are a no-go now. We must devise our own cures. By the pew, a booth. Do not stop there. There may very well be another garden beyond the garden in the courtyard, and at some point, high walls. Do not let them deter you, though. They're only ornamental. In one of these gardens, you will find a set of keys by the arbor, not far from a pond filled with coins. You will think to yourself, this is it. It isn't. I will be waiting on the very next lawn with a hand of bananas on a blanket, some smart water sandwiches, and a sign. There to say, you are closer than you think. I'm going to end with a birthday poem. 10 lines, 4 words each line. And It's called 40. It's probably the gayest poem I've ever written. And when you hear me read it, you're gonna wonder about that. But we can talk about it when we hug each other's necks and sign some books and mingle like there's no after party. Like one of us has to take a pregnant person home. So that means mingling. I feel like the last few years, it's become a little bit more of an achievement to hit a birthday or a half birthday or Wednesday, frankly. You should pull out all the stops and show that extra care and kindness, right? It's a celebration. It's not easy getting where we've gotten. And for all the forces arrayed against us being here, here we are. And thank you again for being here. It's not something I take for granted in any way. This is the last poem of the book, and it's called 40. All the purple flowers, the way they fall, white and purple falling. See how they turn their skirts, turning their white and purple skirts, so that at least they fall slowly, make no sound, beginning soon to yellow and brown. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Please feel free to hang out. You can play some music and feel free to buy books.